What is up, Facebook fans? Rich Hoppy here once again, right in your little TV screen, or you can simulcast me to a bigger TV screen. And we're here today with Scott Yoquelet for an Oddcast broadcast interview style. We've been doing an Oddcast broadcast with Bill and I every other week, and then we've been interviewing starting actually 2 weeks ago with Hannah Roberts. So today we've got Scotty Yoquelet. Hannah actually was in North Carolina at Daniel Doerr's Action Sports Complex. Scotty is right here next to me in real life. So we don't have to do that two-screen kind of thing where things are jimmering and jammering in and out. So we're going to get right into it today. Scott and I are actually sitting in my backyard as we speak, and things are looking good. Okay, sorry. The computer just yelled at me about hitting buttons when I'm inside things. So we'll hit any more buttons. Also, Scotty and I are not seeing Facebook. So if you're commenting anything, go ahead and comment. And if you hear something that you got a question about, or you have a question for Scotty or me or anybody at this point in time, go ahead and type it in there. And Nate will actually be moderating. He's in the back room right now watching the comments on Facebook. And we're going to pick him up here in a little bit to see what the comments look like here after the interview. We're going to try to keep it. We're not going to go 2.5 hours, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So we're going to try to keep it slim and keep it lean. But I want to go through. It's Scotty and I personally have had a history riding bikes since about 1985 when I believe I met Scotty in 85 or 86, and we were both on bicycles where we met, of course.
Yeah.
And we met at Rock Hill Park because that's where we used to go. That was our local racetrack back there, and I'll point out it was an NBL track back then, and
best in BMX.
The best in BMX. And it's still definitely, I say the NBL days were my favorite time in the sport. Lot more lackadaisical on the rules, a lot more fun, a lot less training, I would say.
A lot more family friendly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So going back to 1985, Scott, and even before that, let's take it back to, let's say, what are your first memories of being on a bike? And, what do you think drove you to the BMX track, or who drove you there, I guess?
Well, my first real experience of riding BMX would actually be in my neighborhood in the woods of Westlawn, directly across the street from where one of our buddies, Jake Hadaway, lives now.
Yep.
And there was a local pro in the neighborhood, actually, that raced as a B pro named Paul Rachel. And he had built a jump, or a group of guys had built a jump in the park, and I decided I was going to try it. 6 years old, to jump over 3 bikes standing up, and I ended up running home with my half of the skin missing off my face because I clipped the bikes and flipped straight onto my face. And I remember that vividly, and that was really my first time that I really remember jumping a bike. And then I went to watch a softball game with one of my friends in the softball fields right there beside the park, and they were having a race, and I said, let's go over there and check that out. And the next week my parents took me and started racing.
Wow. And that was what year?
1982, August 14th.
1982. So you're coming up, I was close there. You are coming up on 38 years. Yeah. I knew I was about 3 years behind you, because I started, I clocked my career, and it's got a little sprinkle. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
We'll see how this goes. You might need an umbrella.
I don't give a shit if I'm wet as hell.
Other than the electronics, I think we'll be fine. Yeah.
That could be bad.
So we'll see how this goes.
We'll get an umbrella for them, and
we might need to put an umbrella or paper bag over.
We'll just blame it on the fucking rain.
Blame it on the rain. Like Millie Vanilli said.
Right. Yeah.
Which
we're not lip syncing though.
They didn't. They actually didn't say it. They lip synced it. At any rate, so you start BMX racing in 1985. Sorry. And in 1982, BMX all by itself was, less than 15 years old. It started in the early 70s out in California, and
right.
It kind of bled its way out to the Midwest, and then you happened to be in there really early in the game. What was it like? What were the people like back then? And, what was your kind of fondest memories of the early days of BMX racing?
I mean, the early days were crazy just because, my first day racing as a 7 beginner, I actually had semis. There was 90 some motos, I remember, at a local race. And, I didn't even know what a semi was at that point. So I had to get some instruction by the people who had been racing for a while. and they just kind of showed me the ropes, let me know kind of how things were going to work throughout the day, and enjoyed it and just kept going back. It was something that if I didn't like it, obviously I would have quit a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah, I raced for 20 years, and that was long enough for me.
That's a long time to race. I mean, those of you out there that actually have raced for more than a few races, it's very demanding sport, and it's very unforgiving as well. It's one of the sports out there that people typically don't last 20 years because of the amount of damage it does to the body over that amount of time. So for you to make it 38 years is highly unusual, I would say.
True.
But anybody I would say that's over 40 years of age still riding a BMX bike is highly unusual out here on this planet Earth, we call it.
They definitely have a little bit of a different mindset, I would say, than your average 45-year-old. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So you're racing for 20 years, and you go back to those 80s again. Like when we were literally 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. Those days kind of defined the time frame and defined the rest of our time. That's kind of when we had our little crew back then. When we first started riding, it was you and me, and it was Jamie Simon and Stuart Johnson. Primarily it was like our little crew. Yeah. And then we had our sub crews, like we kind of ran into the Shreebies and we started traveling, just to go jump in their backyard versus traveling to race. And then, those little crews ended up turning into the ravine, essentially. True. So us going out and taking a shovel and building one small jump in the woods across from our buddy Simon's house, when we were 12, 13, 14 years old, that tradition of shoveling and building jumps to this very day, you and I still haven't gotten out of that tradition. We still are doing the same thing as we did as kids. It's pretty amazing to be able to say that we are still doing that.
I agree, 100%. I mean, that it's almost as fun to shovel these days as it is to ride.
Yeah.
Of course, the shoveling does take quite a toll out on my back, but that's just things you deal with.
Well, if you don't go to the gym, you have to do something.
Yeah, and that is my gym.
That is, sure. Yeah, I agree. And riding dirt jumps is my particular passion. I know that BMX racing was a passion for yours, but like if you were to choose one thing that you could do, the last day of your BMX career or whatever you want to call it, what would you choose?
It would be trails all the way.
Trails, yeah. That's what I figured as much.
Yep, all the way.
And for those people that are new out there, the newer riders, the newer kids, because every year there's a bunch of new kids out, right. and they want to define themselves as street riders, dirt riders, or park riders, or whatever kind of riders. We've always not done that. We've always just said we ride, but we do have things that we prefer to ride. If we could ride this or that all day long, that's what we do. But to those people that, maybe want to ride dirt, but think they have nowhere to ride, nowhere to go, what advice do you have for them, the new kids?
It was always explore your options. You know what I mean? For quite a time when I moved back here, in 2002 from Cali, we really started to ride more skate parks, for quite a few years, you and I.
Yes,
we rode parks from probably about 02 to 07, and the ravine was there, but it was in the process of getting tore down. And then we ended up hooking up with Brad, and ever since then, it's, we've got our little backyard paradise where we don't have to worry about our jumps getting plowed. So
very nice. Yeah, true. And it's got its pluses and minuses. The plus is it's raining out here.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
The minuses is also raining out here because we need the rain as a city right now. I'm going to move my laptop real quick, but we're going to keep this going out here because I don't mind if you don't.
I don't care either.
All right, I'm going to stick
Not really. Inside. I'll blame it on the rain. I'm going to put this inside too because I don't want my laptop getting wet either.
Damn, my water went down.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, some technical difficulties with the weather here, but we are hanging on. We might have to, I say we move this temporarily right in the kitchen real quick.
Okay.
Just to get us out of the rain here. You never know when you're live what's going to happen, so here we go, Scott.
True. All right.
All right, sound. How about now?
There we go. We got the microphone.
Good thing we got Nate back there. Otherwise, you guys would be watching us and trying to read our lips.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So we should have sound back now. It is still raining out there, though.
It is.
I can hear us from the other room, so yes, we do have sound now. Getting back to what I was trying to say when I was lip syncing a second ago, we're in the kitchen now inside my house. It's raining out there. We had it set up pretty nice though until the rain kicked in. We're gonna finish it off right here in the kitchen, and we'll get Scotty's son a glass right now.
Come on,
Stick your head in there, wait.
Yeah.
That's Ezra Yoquelet, freshly age 14.
Had me sweating playing football before this.
Yeah, they're playing football. Scott was like, "Hey man, chill out, I'm sweating." So dirt jumping out. I was basically telling you that I do a lot of shows. When I'm out doing shows, after the shows, there's the crowd of folks that come up, the mixed crowd that always kind of have the same questions. Sure. And there's always the kid that says, oh, I want to do that, but I have nowhere to do it. Blah blah blah. I mean, to that kid, I always tell them, get a shovel, find somewhere, and build a jump. Build something small, jump it. Build it a little bit bigger, jump it. And the next thing you know, over time, you end up with your own set of jumps, or at least one jump that you can have fun jumping.
Right.
And you don't have to have the best bike in the world to do that. You don't have to have the best coach, the best teacher. All you have to have is a want and a desire to go do it. So if you have that desire, but you continue to make excuses why you can't do something,
very true,
it'll float away.
Definitely.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that type of stuff, been doing it for 38 years, you have to push yourself. How have you been able to push yourself, like, especially for 20 years racing? How did you have that? I mean, was it just built into you? You loved it that much where you just kept pushing and pushing and pushing? Did you ever want to quit? Was there times where?
There was times, when I broke my arms or, broke a bone, there would be times like initially when it was broke before I actually seen the doctor and got it fixed, and, I was still in a lot of pain that I would tell myself I was done. And then I'd get the cast put on, the pain would go away, and I'd be like, damn, I can't wait to get back to that again. But I mean, racing to me was more of a place that I went to hang out with my friends. I mean, not just local friends. I went and hung out with people from Illinois and New York and Florida, California, just depending. And that's how I made a whole bunch of different relationships throughout the country. And I mean, I've been fortunate enough to, be able to travel internationally as well, to different countries, Brazil, France, England, Japan, Holland. I've been fortunate with the facts of how much I've been able to travel, to the point where I almost hate to travel nowadays just because of the fact I did it so much when I was younger.
But that is one of the things, the small quirks and perks of BMX. Sure. In any aspect, I think of BMX, we're such a small niche group of people, and we have a lot of passion, so it takes you a lot of places.
Definitely.
If you really want to get involved in BMX, the people are amazing. Like Scott said, you meet very cool people all over the country. And, as you meet these people, you're more than welcome to stay at 99% of them couches when you're traveling around. Maybe you go on just a mission out of nowhere, you save $500, a couple of your buddies go and just take off in a van and go somewhere, that type of stuff.
Yeah. You
can meet some guys in the middle of Texas and ride their spot. And next thing you know, you're having beers with them and you're crashing at their house and you move on the next day and you guys are friends forever. I mean, that type of stuff happens nonstop with BMX, just because I think that when you see another BMX rider, it's an instant like connection.
Yeah.
Because it's such a like I said, such a rare thing, and you know just by watching that person ride how much time and they put into their art or their
I agree. Yeah.
Their thing.
It was just like when I was back east this past summer. I did a trail trip in 2019, and I went to this place in Massachusetts called Oakwoods, and I went to a place in called GMT, and then I went up to a place and met and I can't, Mike's gonna kill me for not remembering his trail spot name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But going to those 3 spots and meeting everybody, like, that's created a connection with all those dudes that I didn't have before, which is amazing.
Right, and I want to bring up the DWA guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's a pretty cool story how you met them, and you kind of met them. I was too busy riding to give a shit.
Yeah.
You made a connection with them. I was riding the whole time, but we were in Louisville Caverns.
Yep.
And go ahead and tell that story, because DWA Josh is doing cool stuff, man.
Yeah, so DWA is a non-for-profit called, basically it's the Dirt Worker Association, Digger with Attitudes, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But basically Josh and these guys have put together a crew, and basically what they do is they take the profits from the t-shirts and the profits they get from everything that they do, and they distribute gift cards to Lowe's or Home Depot to different trail systems throughout the country to help pay for tools and canopies and things of that nature. So when we initially met them in the caverns, I didn't remember this at all, but Richie, one of the dudes on the team, came up to me and he goes, we were in an elevator together back in '99. And I said, oh yeah? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I was looking at your girlfriend and you asked me what I was looking at. And I just kind of chuckled and I said, oh, you know what? I kind of remember that situation. And we laughed it off, and that's kind of how the connection got with those guys. And so about a month later, I went back down to the caverns, and sure enough, they were there again. And then we ended up, talking more, bought a couple t-shirts off them and things of that nature. And then last December, in 2018, he sent me a text and he's like, hey, I want you to ride one of my frames. And I was like, hey man, I can't afford that right now. And he's like, well, you know how this sponsorship works out, right? And I said, well, yeah, I'm familiar with sponsorship. And he goes, all right. And then he goes, I'll see you at the Old Fools Jam and I'll give you a frame. And I was like, well, I want to put it together before I go there. And so he actually mailed it to me. And then, a few months later, things led into another thing. And now I've got a signature bike called the Ravine. And there's 2 different Ravine frames out there. There's a 20-inch model as well as a 22-inch model. Yep. And
or custom.
Or customs. And these guys are really good dudes. They were on that trip with me last summer, and it was 5 days in a row that I got to spend with these dudes that I didn't know 2 years ago, but now it was probably the best trip, one of the best trips I've ever been on. So good dudes. There was no fighting, no bickering. It was just a great trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those that may not have caught it earlier, the Ravine, the bicycle, the name that Scotty got chose a name for his own frame. So he has his own frame. It's called the Ravine.
Nobody wants a Yoquelet frame, so the Ravine is what we go with.
Yeah, nobody can spell it or pronounce it either.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, Yoquelet's a horrible name to have on a frame where someone's gonna try to sound it out. Yokelulu and ukulele, and I've heard all kinds of good stuff. Silent T's.
Oh yeah.
But at any rate, so the Ravine was, I spoke of those trails we had across from our buddy Simon's house. The Ravine was the second spot ever that we had, and it started out as just a few of us going there, and it was just literally you dive bomb and you jump out, and then which was, we took a shovel and we built a little jump. Started out with one jump,
yep.
And then you fast forward that 15 years later, and you've got dudes from all over the country living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, helping build these trails, and next thing you know, they are worldwide known trails, and they have my heart forever. I have an oil painting by Nick Fabini in my living room right now. He sat back there and painted, and this is also drawn by Nick Fabini. So
indeed,
there's a lot of local roots, and when you spend 20 years riding a spot, it tends to stick with you. So
yeah, I started riding there in '84.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember our first trip back there. Matt McClure kind of rolled us back there. I think it might have been, I don't know if you were there, but with Barry and Dan Leonard, and Matt McClure, I think, was the first time that I went back there. Barry, Dan, and Simon and me and Matt. I think you were there, but that's a damn long time ago.
It is. I don't remember.
And I could have been mixing trips up because that's, it could have been 6 other people for all I know, but that's how I remember it.
Sure.
Not like we're going to rewrite history or anything.
No.
That was a stab. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So you mentioned sponsorships. Throughout my time, I've gotten 0 sponsorships. I must not have enough style or something. But no, I in racing, I was a guy that got 4th place. I didn't care too much about getting sponsored. I more cared about doing no footers in 4th place than I did about getting sponsored, which I did frequently. So I never got sponsored. But Scotty, on the other hand, was an extremely good racer. So he caught people's eyes because he was the number 1 spot quite often. He was, he's competitive on the track, but he was never one to be a competitive jerk off the track.
That's probably, honestly, my success was probably more of my personality than it was my racing.
I agree.
Mainly because I was always friendly to people. I mean, there's no reason to be a dick in this world. There's plenty of them out there.
Funny.
But just treat people how you want to be treated. I mean, that's just that's life. And but when I got older is really when I started to take off in racing. As a younger amateur, I did okay. I was top 5, 6 in the nation. But when I was 16, I really started to pull on the gas when I grew 8 inches over a summertime.
Yeah, I remember that. And little Scotty.
Yeah.
No, it was like, hey, look, little Richie.
And then, it just led to, that's when more sponsorship really happened for me. Like, I got picked up by Baden Company. That led into something I never expected to ever happen, as I actually won both the ABA and MBL Grands in the same year, which I never expected.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, and then, the next year I did decent in amateur and crashed, tied for points. And
you were 17?
I was 18 at this time.
18,
so
okay.
17 is when I won the Grands both. And then the next year I really went for the MBL title, and I had perfect points, tied with the 2 other guys, and I crashed in my semi. And I went straight to the MBL trailer, and I turned myself pro.
Right then.
Yep,
at age 18.
Yep.
And that's probably right around the time that you vamoosed Fort Wayne and went to California.
About a year later. I raced that whole next season from Fort Wayne. Turned, single A, of course, in September. You have to make a certain dollar amount before they make you move up to the AA pro ranks, or the elite ranks, so however you want to talk about it these days.
Yeah.
And beginning of the year, cash started over, and by May I was AA pro. And I was pretty sure that I was just going to get my ass handed to me. But kind of figured I was done.
But you ended up, how long were you AA pro?
Till 2001.
Yeah. So you had a lengthy career.
Yeah, just things worked out differently. I mean, I went to, when I graduated high school when I was 19, and that's right when I turned AA pro. I hadn't even raced my first race. I went to Australia actually with Jason Richardson, Dr. Jason Richardson, and he whooped my ass the whole time we were over there. I think I beat him 1 time out of all that. So we come back to the States. My very first race was the middle of June of 1994. And I was right between Jason Richardson and Gary Ellis, the national number 1 in the AA pro class.
Oh yeah, the lumberjack.
And it was my second moto. I got 3rd my first moto, so I was pretty happy. And then I realized I was between probably the 2 toughest starters in my category. And somehow I pulled a card out of my pocket and hole shot it, and I have a photo from that from the MBL paper with Gary Ellis 5 bike lengths behind me somehow in second. And I couldn't even answer you how that worked out. And then I was able to actually coast my 3rd moto on my first ever national at the AA pro.
Wow.
Next day, not so lucky, didn't make the main. But hey,
gotta take good with
I got a 7th from AA my first day. And then awesome. It led off from there, and the next weekend was actually a race in North Carolina, which I drove all the way from LA all the way to North Carolina down to 40.
I'll just say Highway 40, the whole
40.
thing.
And I went that weekend. I went 4 for 4. Made pro and pro, AA pro both days, and 5th and 6th. But Yeah. As a young guy, I was happy. I made a couple $100 and
pay for your fuel.
Pay for my fuel and yeah.
Maybe some cheeseburgers.
There was no sponsorship money at that time. You know, I was getting my entry fees paid and stuff like that. And, you know, sponsorship money started coming in after I moved to California. A few months later, I moved there in late September of '94, and that's where the money at that point started coming into the sport from different, you know, mountain bike companies. ESPN was involved.
Freshly, yeah, all this stuff was very fresh.
Yeah, and then, you know, I got picked up by Park 3, and that led into me riding for vans, and, you know, then I ended up getting with Odyssey, and that was where I really kind of had the capability of not having to work and just concentrate on riding.
Right.
Yeah.
That had to feel pretty, I mean, that had to be a pretty accomplished feeling to be like, you know, I don't even have to work. I'm riding my bike for a living right now. And
yeah, it was something I never expected to happen.
Right. I think a lot of BMXers, you know, kind of pull that off, but they just have horrible, crappy jobs and they barely work and still, and just put the thing, you know, that they kind of put money aside, BMX up front, which is fine. You know, if you want to get good, you have to do it all the time. Right. There's no way around it. If you want to be good and you're only doing it 2 hours a day, you're never going to be good. You're just, it's not, you don't have you're just not making the time. If you want to do it, you've got to dedicate yourself, you know, 1,000,000% to the things. As long as you have time, you make as much time as you can, and you go practice, whatever you're doing. I don't care if it's grinding, or gate starts, you know, riding backwards, whatever it is.
Right.
You got to do it a ton.
And that's where my demise kind of happened with racing. It's I was a racer and getting paid to race, but I didn't want to go to the racetrack. I wanted to go to the trails.
Right.
So I went to the trails probably 90% of the time, and the track maybe 10% of the time.
And see, I was going to touch on that because that's what separates you from the average racer. You know, the average racer basically lives his career traveling the national circuit and gets his photo in the Intel magazine a couple times, maybe at BMX Action back then. These are magazines I'm talking about. These are actual print magazines you opened up and looked at and folded and put away in a drawer or something. Pre-internet. So you were, while you're out in California, you kind of developed, by your love of trail riding, you kind of developed this relationship with some of the magazines back then. They picked you up as a jumper, as a bike tester, which you jumped bikes and tried to destroy bikes was another job he picked up out there.
I did.
So that gained a lot of exposure for you.
Yeah, I mean, that kept me consistently coming into the magazines. It was to a point where I was actually doing bike tests for BMX Plus and Snap magazine at the same time.
Yep.
Snap didn't like that going down like that as well. So they ended up basically they wanted me to commit to be their test rider. And so every time I did a test for Snap, I got $50. You know, it wasn't a lot of money, but to go out and shoot videos on a bike that I'd never rode before, or photos for an hour and a half, it was always a good gig.
Yeah,
it was always with, you know, good company. It was Keith Mulligan or Brad McDonald, you know, some really talented photographers. So, you know, they told me what they wanted me to do. I'd do it. You know, we'd do it 2 or 3 times. They'd take the photo. They'd be like, all right, let's move on. And, you know, usually with working with those guys, they told me what they wanted me to do, and I'd do it. And you know. And
they ended up snapping a bunch of iconic photos kind of over time that kind of helped define you as an overall BMX rider, you know. Otherwise, you may have just been known as a racer.
True.
You know, if that love of trails hadn't existed to where you were at Sheep Hills when everybody else was at the BMX track that you were running against.
Very true.
You know what I'm saying? So, so I like that the trails we had, you know, that influence we had as a kid stuck with you throughout your whole career.
Yeah, my photos, as far as my racing photos compared to my jumping photos, are, I would say it's 1 BMX racing photo to 2 to 3 jumping photos in magazines.
Yeah. And that also gave your sponsors, you know, like, hey, I'm getting the magazines nearly every month now. Your stickers are in there, I'm wearing your shirt, that kind of stuff.
Well, I wasn't actually, with Snap, I had to wear a Snap uniform.
Oh, okay, well.
But they were nice enough to let us always put our sponsors on our visor. And so the visor always got shots and stuff like that. So it worked out. It was at first, I don't think the sponsors were even allowed to be on our helmets. Like, we had to kind of
generic it.
Yeah, we had to kind of, hey man, you know, we do have these guys, and Yeah, because you're testing. If you're testing for, let's say it was Iron Horse, and you've got a different bike sponsor on your visor, there's a little bit of conflict.
There's a conflict, yes. Yeah, but at the same time, you're testing a bike.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's got the validity. And back then, the way magazines worked, if a certain sponsor paid a magazine X amount of money, kind of like now, I mean, if Monster is paying for a contest, you probably won't see a whole lot of Red Bull riders in that contest. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing that goes back then. If someone's paying a little bit more money to have a full page ad and you got the wrong sticker on it, you're probably not going to get your picture in that.
Very true.
That's just economics, and that same thing goes on today with nearly everything that comes across your little screen. Someone's paid for it, to try to lure you into whatever they're trying to sell you. And sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's the weather, sometimes it's religion, sometimes it's BMX trash talk. Whatever it is, sometimes you buy into it.
That thing's moving all around.
Is it?
Oh yeah, you're jumping up to the floors.
Oh, the floor. That's okay.
So if you guys are getting a little bit of a wave, we're in a wave pool.
Yeah, it's a wave pool. Yeah. Yeah, the house is on a crawl space, so it's wood and it's got a little bounce to it. So, I mean, when we were kids at age 12 and 13 and 14, I honestly could not say that I could, no way in hell, predict standing here with you right now saying I'm going to be like July 28 is my 35th year that I consider, riding BMX on a somewhat, on a dedicated level. Like I dedicated myself to riding BMX at that point in time. That's the time. I've been riding bikes since I could walk probably, but that's the day I started racing. That's the day I really put my mind to, I love this and I'm going to do this for as long as I can. And here we are, pushing age 50. And personally right now, I mean, we could go through ups and downs, but your riding tends to, as long as you're not injured, we're injured a little bit more now just because of our age than we were then. We were injured a lot more from being dumbasses. Yeah. So we've kind of eliminated that. I've done very well with that. Yeah. But like to be able to ride, and at this point in time, and to go back looking at us as kids, dude, I would never have guessed that we'd be standing here today.
I agree.
Talking about that nearly 40 years later.
Oh, that wouldn't have been a thought when we started.
No. But when we're together and we're riding, it still feels like we're kids.
True.
Every time. Like we have that same mindset. We have just as much fun as we did with kids. We still dick with each other, screw with each other, trash talk each other, and we also push each other to do things. If we're slacking a little bit, step it up a little bit. So we've done that the whole time, and we're going to continue to do that, I would imagine, until we can't possibly do it anymore. So if you're those kids out there that are whatever age you are and you got your buddy, imagine 40 years from now standing with them, nearly 40, reminiscing about 40 years of riding your bikes together. I mean, Scotty and I mean, just the two of us have been so many different places together, riding our bikes, you know what I mean? Like just our bikes specifically have taken just him and I to so many different places around this country, and met so many people on the road, so many different things, man. It's insane. We always incorporate with whatever we are doing, our bikes are coming with us. We tend to make it around. All right, well, if we're going to, wherever in North Carolina, we're going to go look at the map and figure out what skate parks are by there, or who's got some trails near there, and then try to meander our way in there. Or you go to skate park and you find a dude, and he's like, oh yeah, we got some, and you end up, having a good time. It's the BMX way. And I mean, anyone that goes to a BMX race and sees the environment that exists all across the country, how family friendly it is, how nice everyone is, and how these people, persevere. They just keep going. The old adage of falling down and getting back up. I mean, there is no better sport to define it than BMX.
True.
Skateboarders fall a lot. They only fall this far.
True.
Nothing against skateboarders, but no, I mean, in comparison to skateboarding, BMX, then basically you've got motocross. That's kind of how it goes. The motorcycle guys think we're nuts because we fall all the time. They fall very randomly, but they break everything when they fall. And we just break things more often, it seems like.
Right.
But it's a different mindset. Riding BMX and owning the skate park, the kids out there are really, you and I have seen plenty of people come and go.
Oh yeah.
And those that are dedicated, there's plenty of people that actually that we know that are our age out there still pushing, and they're just fewer and far between. But they're still out there throughout the country. You know, Crandall, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, Steve, he's learning lessons on a daily basis. You know, the guy that never wore a helmet now owns and operates a non-for-profit called RadShare, where he's getting helmets on kids' heads. You know, so it's good to see that Steve. You know, we all were non-helmet dudes for a long time. I don't know if it was because we thought it wasn't cool, most likely. I mean, I've knocked myself out countless times with a helmet on. And I try to, if I'm gonna knock myself out, I would prefer to have a helmet on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because then you really know you did a really good job if you knock yourself out with the helmet.
Then you know you did a good job. And then you can look at the helmet instead of your head.
Yes,
it's like, oh, damn, that. Yeah. So you know, I'm a big proponent of helmets. We always wear helmets when we ride trails. And I think that's another thing of the test of time. You know, like, oh, that's not going to happen to me. It won't happen to anybody I know. But you know, you fast forward your life, and I know a ton of people, way too many people, that have been massively injured from not wearing a helmet. And you know, it's not that difficult. You may sweat a little bit more, but trust me, man, you never know when you're going to land your head. It could be a bike failure. It could be a malfunction with, you know, who knows? There could be a ton of things. Animals around in front of you. You can't control things outside of your own area. So you never know when you're going to be going 20 miles an hour. Next thing you know, you're sliding on your head. You know, I've done it like too many times, way too many times. But because I've chosen to wear a helmet most of my time, I'm still here standing and I can tie my shoes. You know,
very true.
And buckle my belt.
That's true.
So if you want to do that stuff, I would say keep your helmet on, kids.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you ever race anymore?
No, I'll go out to the BMX track to putt around. Not interested.
No.
It's just I don't have that competitive drive like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't, you know, I don't know.
You did it for a long time.
Yeah.
So if you do go, it'll be an Olympic day just to play around and whatever.
I went out there on Olympic day,
yeah.
Played around, and yeah.
What are the things you kind of look forward to nowadays? Like, is there any events that you look forward to nowadays?
Yeah, you know, I usually once a year I take I enjoy every Sunday that we're out at the trails at our local spot at 4910.
Word.
You know, and then, you know, here in about a month, I'm going to Minnesota to hang out with all the DWA guys. Are having a big jam at their trail spot, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, which I'm going to have to cut a little short because my kid is going with me and he starts school. Yeah, August 7th, 8th, and 9th, and my kids start school on the 10th. So probably going to be there Friday and Saturday and probably roll out about midday to get him back home. So it's not last minute type thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going up there. They've got a spot where I'm going to be able to stay and, you know, check out Minnesota. I've really never had a chance to go up to Minnesota. So something new for me. Never raced there when I was racing. So it'll be a cool experience. Yeah. I've driven through there, but I've never actually stayed anywhere in Minnesota.
Yeah, I was there for X Games 2018. I was there for 4 days and I loved it there. I thought it was beautiful there, man. It really is I think it's awesome there. I mean, it's a cool spot. I was there in the middle of summer, probably way different than the middle of winter.
Right. Yeah.
But
sorry, Jeff.
Minneapolis is kind of built like you can pretty much walk around the entire downtown without ever leaving a building. They've got it set up like it's all there's skywalks everywhere, and in the summertime they've got it full blown. There's like farmers markets and street vendors, and I mean it's a really cool city. And to point something out, I know in the news recently they haven't had a horrible, like, awesome spotlight, but it was one of the cleanest cities I'd ever been in. Was Minneapolis, Minnesota. That was one of the first things I noticed. The place was immaculate, like, and everybody was cool. People waving at you, just kind of like you're at a lake, you know, type atmosphere.
Nice.
Not California type atmosphere.
Sure.
There wasn't 10 million cool guys. They're all actually people, you know, that wave at you and whatnot. So
yeah,
maybe a little Midwestern, you know, on my end, a little leaning toward the Midwest style person.
Sure.
I'm gonna jump over here. We get. I think we've been on for we've been on for about 40 minutes with a little bit of a chaotic rampage. When the rain set in, yeah. So I got to find. Nate has been over in the old waiting room. I'm gonna pull Nate in here, and we're gonna go ahead and see if he has any if he has any actual comments from Peanut Gallery.
Well, there's definitely somebody over there that had something to say, I guarantee it.
Yeah, okay, there we go. We got Nate, Becky, and Nate. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Are you there? Everybody else can hear this guy, so let me do that. Here we go. Check Nate. There we go. I can hear you.
Do you have any comments from a guy named Dan Parra? Let me know.
Now we got some sound.
You can hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Go ahead.
All right, we had actually a lot of comments tonight.
We had a lot of comments.
Yeah, you guys are popular.
Good. I'm gonna flip over here. All right, what you got over there? Comment wise, what's a highlight you want to see that we had out there?
Well, first off, DWA called Scott the man right off the rip.
DWA Josh, you said?
Yep, DWA Josh, yep.
He called Scott the man.
Man.
That's awesome.
Chris Breen said, "My man, miss you, bud," to Scott.
I'm trying to pull him up here because Scotty can't hear you. I'm going to try to follow along with you here so we can see these comments with you. All right, we got it up here. Kind of weird because we're on time delay. We're looking at two screens and they're on two different time frames.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I see it. DWA Josh, you the man. I see that now. Awesome. Yeah, there is quite a bit of folks on there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I've seen 14 people watching at one time.
Tim Torres, what's up?
What's up, Tim?
Tim's out of he's out of Toledo, formerly out of Southern California.
Miss you too, Chris Breen.
Chris Breen, yeah. I think I've lost my scroll ability. Oh, there it is. Stoney McGee, it looks like as well. What's up, Stoney? He's from the OFG BMX. I think
Josh gave the amen when you guys were talking about riding trails. So like,
Stoney, trails don't hurt you.
Oh, come on, Stoney. You gotta get out there. Dirt is softer than concrete. And let's see. Oh yeah,
Milli
Vanilli. Hell yeah. That's good, Josh.
No sound.
Oh, that's when we made our moves. Thank you. You're muted, brothers. Yeah. All right, let's see what Chris Breen says here.
I was BMX back in the day.
Nice.
Chris, I remember meeting you as well, and I appreciate it, man. You and I have been buddies for a long time, so I'm glad to call you a friend as well, man. I miss you guys.
Bruce. Yeah, good.
Some of my California peeps.
It's good to see him tuning in 3 hours back.
There is one thing I would like to say too. This past week, I lost a friend. His name's Bryant Dumont. He was well known as Doc. He was part of the Sheep Hills Locals, the trail spot that we rode. And I want to tell Freddie Chulo and all my boys back in California that they've been in my thoughts, and I miss all you guys. And there's a lot of love for you guys, especially you, Freddie, and for Doc.
Yes, that's unfortunate, man.
What's up, Matt?
When someone passes like that, especially this time.
Yeah.
Matt
What's up,
Patterson,
Chris?
and Chris Kemp.
Remember it's High Ridge.
Song more writing. Fire. Yeah, I probably felt more like the Bravo Fire in Massachusetts, Josh, than I would like to admit. There might have been a couple contributing factors. Probably a couple too many beers. I'm not gonna lie. But yes, I felt plenty of times during the fire.
Chris Kemp said he loves his DWA Ravine, which he does have one. He was one of the first dudes to get one.
He was.
That's pretty sweet. What happened that night you made it so you didn't make your main the next day? Oh, so he's saying, I think when we were talking about how you did really well, Gary Ellison, you didn't make the main at all the next day.
Just simply I've got moto.
Oh,
Yeah, I just didn't have the power that day. Like, I had really good motos and the first day, and the second day, I think I got like a fifth or something like that. Just didn't make it out of the motos.
and Bill Nitschke did finally jump in. He said, "Jump on."
Okay.
Billy.
How many snap tests did you do? Tris, I really have no idea on the number count there. I don't know. 20.
A bunch?
I mean, I don't know, 20, 30, 50? I don't know, really.
A bunch?
Definitely a bunch.
All right, I'm going to take this off there. Nick, can you hear us still?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
For some reason, we're having a rough time hearing you. That's why I'm kind of reading this here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let me hit this unmute. Now, go ahead. Test yourself, Nate.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hey.
No, I still can't hear you worth the crap.
Still can't hear me? I can hear you just fine.
Stoney McGee, hashtag BMX fam. Yes, sir. And, Stoney, it's pretty cool what you've done. You know, I started watching you on YouTube, and an old fat guy trying to relearn riding a BMX bike.
Peer pressure.
It's pretty awesome. So keep doing what you're doing, and keep inviting me to the events, because I like riding with you guys. You guys are always fun. You know, and I always do something stupid every time you guys are around, and somehow try to pull it off. Yeah, that's pretty sick, Josh. Yeah, the fact that Scotty and I have been able to live our lives the way we have and still get together every Sunday and do what we did as kids is freaking absolutely amazing. Like it's what they call priceless. Let's see here. Positive peer pressure. Knuckles. Oh, Roger Crozier, what's up, dude?
What's up, Roger?
Michael, yes, you do need to come ride. Michael's from the skate park. He skateboards and he's recently got a BMX bike, I think. So I'm gonna try to get him out and get him to come out and beat him up a little bit.
Cool.
Carl Pointer was in there. What's up, Carl? Good to see you. Miss riding with you too, dude. And Chris Kemp, one more with the hang loose. So yeah, I mean, hey, we're just trying to, the ridersgotteride.com thing is something I started in 2009, and I don't know. Yes, we're good.
Okay.
So the ridersgotteride.com thing is something that I started in 2009, and that website is full of original writings and photos and everything from stuff around the Midwest. A lot of stuff I've done. The first photo I ever put on that website is Scotty Yoquelet doing a turn down similar to one I put up for this advert for this interview. So pretty rad stuff going on. And I thank everyone who's been along the way with Scott or I, anywhere along the way. We've always had a good time when we've hung out. So thank you all for joining us. And you can check every Tuesday at 9. Bill and I do the Outcast broadcast, Bill Nitschke and I, and we talk about typically what's relevantly going on in the BMX world. There's not a whole ton going on right now. Bill's like in some kind of weird bubble because he hasn't been out riding, doing shows and showing off. But we're still trying to make a difference, trying to make people see that there is still fun out there, even though the world is flipped entirely upside down at this point in time. So you can still have fun, keep a positive mindset, do stuff that you enjoy, get out there and push yourself, and you can still have fun. We still have fun. Every Sunday, we forget about the entire world. And every time I get on my bike, I do the same thing. So
Definitely.
For those out there not having fun, you're doing it all wrong.
Thank everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. And Rich, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Indeed. Thanks for coming on. And hey, hopefully we'll see you guys out there in the woods or on 2 wheels somewhere.
Buy DWA product. Help support local trail systems.
That's right. Local trails are good. They're good for young kids and they're good for old dudes as well. We need them to live. So buy DWA. They got the good stuff out there.
DWA4130.com.
Booyah. That's my finger. All right. Peace, everybody. We'll see you in the future.
Later.